Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about Ponyo. And this movie came out in 2008, and it's directed by Hayao Miyazaki. And he's made some pretty fantastic animated movies that I really love. And I've seen everything from Castle in the Sky all the way up to Howl's Moving Castle, or as I like to call it, The Two Castles. And if I see The Wind Rises, I'll be able to say I've seen everything between the two castles and beyond. But I'm missing The Wind Rises. And I have seen The Boy and the Heron. And that movie was my least favorite out of everything that I've seen from Hayao Miyazaki. It's the only one that I don't really like. And this one I felt very similarly in terms of how much I enjoyed it, but just a little bit more. But that's not really saying all that much. But to go through my positives, I did think that the animation was great in this movie, and the music worked pretty well. I liked the music in this movie, and it added a decent amount to the tone and what it was going for. And I have some issues with the tone of this movie, but I'll get into that later. There were some fun, quirky moments in this movie that I did enjoy, and I liked some of the characters. The mom character was easily one of my favorites in the entire film, and she really stood out to me as like a good character in this film. And the movie looks nice and it's well shot. It has the basic things that you're looking for a movie that is directed by Hayao Miyazaki, and this movie is based off of The Little Mermaid, so there's a lot of similarities, but it's not really a ripoff because it's public domain, The Little Mermaid, not Ponyo. And with The Little Mermaid story being public domain, I can't really classify this movie as a ripoff. But unfortunately, my issues with this movie is that there are elements of the story that just didn't really work for me. I didn't really care about the plot in terms of where it went or what it had to offer overall. It just felt kind of useless to me. And every once in a while, you would see something cool or some characters that were enjoyable and get some good scenes with them. But unfortunately, it just didn't really feel like it was in service of much of anything. And the relationship between Ponyo and the main character, I forget how to pronounce his name, and I'm not going to butcher it. But you get some good scenes between them, but unfortunately, it's just not really a movie where I fully understand the relationship. They just kind of like each other, and it's supposed to be like somewhat of a love story, I guess, even if I don't really completely buy it. And it is kind of weird, and sure, there are things that I can get behind, like Ponyo just wants to be free, and her dad is just not allowing that to happen. Sure, you could make that argument, but I do feel as though in this movie it didn't really justify its existence nearly as well as The Little Mermaid or any of Miyazaki's previous movies, if we're talking about Hayao Miyazaki's previous films. Like the ones that came before this, they had something to say or they had something to offer and to keep you entertained. Even if there's not much going on plot-wise, there's plenty of likable characters to keep you going and keep the story interesting and something of a hook, whereas this movie just kind of lacked in that department for me. And when Ponyo became a human, there are definitely moments where it was kind of creepy, that whole transformation thing. And there are a couple of things that looked unintentionally creepy, I'm not going to lie, at a couple of moments. And I honestly got a little bored once we got into the second half of this movie, mostly because it just didn't really feel like it was going anywhere. And when Ponyo also became human, I did feel as though the movie kind of came to a grinding halt. And it might sound like I'm kind of spoiling some aspects of this movie, but this isn't really a movie you can spoil except for like a couple of things. But I don't think saying Ponyo eventually becomes human halfway through the movie, I don't think that's a spoiler simply because of what you might be expecting. Like, it's based off of The Little Mermaid and that whole story. And if you're familiar with that story, then I don't know what you're really expecting here. And the movie isn't really about the plot and surprises along the ways. It's more about the characters and their journey. And about halfway through this movie, I came to the conclusion that I don't hate what I'm watching, But at the same time, I do feel like I would much rather be watching something else or doing something else rather than just watching this movie, because it just wasn't really offering much for me aside from the technical qualities, which I do love. But that's kind of how I feel about The Boy and the Heron, where there's plenty to appreciate about it technically, but in terms of a story, it just didn't really offer much for me. And also, comparing this movie to The Boy and the Heron, the one thing I can say that this movie did a bit better than The Boy and the Heron is the pacing and also the runtime, with this movie being 20 minutes shorter. And I didn't feel like I was dying at any point, like I just wanted the movie to be over. But unfortunately, it's just one of those movies where I just didn't really get much out of the experience. I went in hoping for a good movie, and in a way, I kind of got that, but I just didn't really get much of an emotional experience overall. So by the end of it, it's a film that is all right, inoffensive. If you like Miyazaki films, then I'm sure you'll get maybe something out of this one, possibly. I'm not sure, but I just didn't take away much. So with all that being said, I'm going to give Ponyo a 5 out of 10. I was kind of leaning towards a 6 when I was done with it, but looking back on it and thinking about what I really got out of it and my own personal enjoyment, I was like, okay, I appreciate this a decent amount, but overall, I just don't really feel as though it's in service of much of anything that I actually care about. So I kind of like it. It's better than The Boy and the Heron. It's more entertaining, but that's about all I can say about it when comparing the two, in terms of what this movie does better. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of Ponyo, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for 3 Women. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.